Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome to another action figure review, as today we're going to be doing something pretty new and exciting, which is Sealoch from Combat Creatures, which was from the Morphonauts Kickstarter. Now, as you can tell, this is going to be a very special episode, not only because it was part of the Kickstarter that did get funded with 4 or 3 additional other characters, but because this is actually a shark, and since I love sharks, I had to get this, and it's definitely going to be one of those figures where I will admire it for what it is because I am biased towards sharks. But like I said before, there are other figures part of this wave, but I really wanted to test the waters, no pun intended, to see how well this shark figure can really do, or otherwise known as Sealoch. So this was a figure that I've been anxiously awaiting for to arrive, as I know other collectors have already received theirs, but I guess patience is a virtue. So let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging, and then we'll take a look at the figure up close to see how great it really is. So by looking at the packaging up first, we can see that it has the Sealoch text, which does look pretty cool. It's got a nice little gradient colors there and a cool looking font. I like that. And then it says Combat Creatures on the bottom, which is dope. And then of course the figure is there. It says 14 and plus, so gotta stay away from the kids. On the side here, we can see what the Sealoch figure looks like, which again, I'm really excited for. This was an instant purchase for me when I first saw it reveal, because you can never have too many shark figures. We got the Morphonauts logo there. On the back, we can see it has the Sealoch text again with some hexagon patterns, and we got the official photography. And there's really no bio, unfortunately. Maybe there is on the inside, I'm not sure, but we can see here that there's 3 other characters to get. We have LUNAR, BRUINSKULL, and VIRELION. So I'm going to see how well this Sealoch figure is first, and then I'll probably get the other 3 somewhere down the line. But for now, this will be a good one to have for the time being. And then even on this side, we can see again, we have a half shot of the Sealoch figure there too. So other than that, Morphonauts logo on the top, and then all that mumbo jumbo on the bottom. So I'm excited to see how great this figure is. So let's go ahead and open this sucker up. Okay, so before we take a look at the actual Sealoch figure, let's take a look at his accessories that he comes with. He does have these interchangeable gray hands, and I guess they're fine because you can see that he does have like the fins like sculpting there within the fingers, which is pretty cool because, you know, it is a shark after all. But one of the things I probably would have wished for him to have was kind of like fins, even though that probably would not be realistic at all, but just to kind of give it something more like a shark vibe to it, like kind of like a transformation type of thing. This kind of gives it more of a human-esque vibe. So I get it, they're, you know, different from universes and whatnot, multiverses of creatures, but the fingers and hands do look pretty cool. Kind of wish there was a little more coloring, but that's all okay. But you do get 4 sets of hands, which is pretty cool, and, you know, adds a little versatility to the figure, so I like that. The figure also comes with this giant gun, which is pretty decent. I like the sculpting of it. There are some maroons and reds in there, which is not too bad. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of like those 90s weapons of futuristic big blasters type, which is, you know, it's decent. And kind of wish there was a little bit more shading coloring, but, you know, can't nitpick too much. But we can see that there are some types of different pegs there, so it looks like it can kind of peg into the back of the figure or somewhere on the figure. So I guess we're going to find that out once we equip him with everything, but otherwise I do like the sculpting of it. He does come with this nice looking sword, and there is a peg there, so it looks like we can place it onto the actual figure. Otherwise it does have some nice looking blades, very sharp for what it is, and nice little light blue color. The handle is just gray. I like the silverness of the blade, came out really well, and yeah, looks very nice. So gotta see how this works with the figure as well. Pretty sharp there at the top, but otherwise it's a nice looking sword. He does come with a shoulder piece, which is a armored or robotic version of a shark head, so that's pretty dope. And we can see there that maybe it could be more like a attachment piece to additional armor, which is pretty nice, and there are some silvers and grays with the red eyes. And I mean, one of the really cool things about this figure is you can interchange different parts onto it, so we'll see the original figure when we get to the review of how there are some other additional pieces you can kind of swap around. But otherwise, the silvers, the grays, all that gunmetal color looks good, and then the teeth are nice and sharp there, so everything's in unison. And there is like this little peg thing that comes out too, so got to be careful of this. Hopefully it doesn't break when putting it on. It looks a bit fragile. But and within the same realm of that robotic head, there is an alternate head, whereas that first piece was more for the shoulders, and then this one is an actual robotic head, so we can see the peg hole for it, and it has more of the, again, robotic side, just like the shoulder piece. So I kind of wish that the robotic head would have altered a bit differently compared to the shoulder piece. But one of the things I do find interesting is that the mouth has this silver colors inside. So I know it probably would have been too difficult to actually remove the inner silvers, but otherwise, for a brand new Kickstarter and toy line, I like it. And then you can see the fin has a little indent there, kind of giving it like a shark bite. And otherwise, you do got nostrils and then the gills and all that stuff looking pretty good. And yeah, overall, it's a solid looking sculpt, and there are some line works of, you can see some different pieces there, which does have great sculpting and whatnot. So yeah, I like that. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the figure and see how great this guy is. Alright, and here we have Sealoch out of package, and I will say, I absolutely love it. Now, there are some things I will nitpick about this figure, but for the time being and for initial, holding it in your hand when you first take it out of the package, it does have some weight to it, which is really cool, but, gives it a little bit of heftiness to it, so I do like that. It doesn't feel like a typical 6-inch type figure that's kind of like hollow on the inside. This one does contain a lot of weight, so I think I give them a lot of bonus points for that. Definitely gives you more bang for your buck. And just the overall design of it looks really, really, really awesome. Now, before we get into the really cool parts of the actual figure, one of the things I do kind of wish immediately when taking it out of the package is I really did wish that there was some type of fin. Now, I know this is a humanoid type figure, but a fin could have gone a long way if they kind of included like an articulated tail. That would have been really, really cool. Otherwise, I give it more like an 8.5 just for the style and design of it. Now, another thing I do want to slightly nitpick on this is, despite how great it really looks, it kind of gives it more of a human-esque vibe to it, where you can see by the legs and the arms, it just looks more too human. And if you just remove the actual shark head and then, place another head, you wouldn't even tell that it's like a Sealoch or a shark type figure. So I think one of the things that they could have done to improve on this figure is give it more of a shark aesthetic to it. Now, I know the feet and all that stuff, which we'll get into in a little bit, gives you that shark vibe, but again, it's more like, it looks too humanistic to me. I feel like it needed to be a little more, have more animal traits, give it more like a shark vibe. Like I said, a tail could have, or the fins would have gone a long way, and some additional fins on the arms or shoulders, or even forearms, maybe the legs, some fins there that can peg into the back would have been great. So kind of like a super updated shark would have been really awesome. Otherwise, I still give it like a solid 8 or 8.5 just because the style of it is really awesome. So now let's take a look at this figure up close and see how great it really is. Alright, so when looking at the head sculpt, I love it. Now, here's one of the cool details I did not notice because I'm really reviewing this whole entire figure raw. I did not get a chance to look at it before this review. So whatever I see or miss, we're going to talk about it right here. So you can see how the left eye is red, which is nice, and it does have an eye. But the right eye is actually not there, and it has like a scar. So it gives you that battle damage. He definitely lost it during the war. And from what I read, he is the villain of the group. It's a badass army builder for sharks. And another thing I do want to mention is that the packaging does not contain his bio, so I think a bio would have been really great, but otherwise it's still, to learn about these characters would have been very essential, but it's okay. The teeth, the gums, all that came out really well, and then you can even see some nice sculpting and texturing there by the mouth, and then the gills, all that looking pretty cool. There are some scratches on top of the head sculpt as well. The fin looks really nice. Again, some more battle damage there. It's really hard to capture a shark on a human body, but the concept of it is just absolutely awesome. And like we mentioned earlier in the review, he does come with an alternate head, so if you prefer, you can just replace the shark head like that. Now, if you're an army builder, you can easily create these sharks as the army builders and then have the main shark have the robotic head, kind of give it like the leader. But I think I'm most likely going to keep it off and just looks better this way. But overall, the actual sculpting in detail of the face, and you can see the teeth there kind of giving like the half gums and sharpness, and looks really, really awesome. So it has like a more realistic shark approach, which I do like. And again, having a shark head sculpt is very difficult to put on a human body because the proportions are or can be pretty off, but the grays and then the little lighter ivory color looks really nice, so I like that. And again, the eyes and the nostrils, the missing eyepiece did come out really well. Moving on to the torso, we can see that he does have these armor pieces, and they're like the light blues, and I believe you can mix and match from other figures and remove these and whatnot, the chest piece and all that stuff. So the reds, some light maroons in there with the, you know, the shark teeth, all that came out really well. The sculpting looks pretty decent. Now, like I mentioned before, because it has more of a human-esque body, you can see that it's not much of a different compared to a regular standard 6-inch figure, or even 7 for that matter. So you can see like there's some muscle definition. I kind of really wish that even if you look at the lower half of the body, that the legs just gives you like, you know, just gives you like a human in a costume kind of thing. It just needed to be more sharkified, if that makes any sense. But I do like the light blues. It does contrast well against the entire grays of the figure, and we can see that the right arm has that shoulder piece which can move up and down and can be pegged into the actual armor piece, which looks really awesome. I did not know that, so that's good. And like I mentioned earlier in the review, when looking at the additional pieces it comes with, he does have the additional shoulder piece that you can peg on there as well. So I kind of wished that maybe you can mix and match in terms of incorporating this on the other side. So I guess they kind of made it more symmetrical. However, I kind of wish that they gave you an additional piece of this one so you can put it here, so it's like two of the same rather than having just one of these, but I guess it's fine for what it is. And overall, the design of it looks really great. I love it. The back of the figure looks great. You can see some texturing there by the back of the armor pieces. Very, very nice. The light blues look well. Design-wise, musculature looks really great. The gauntlets, you can see that there are holes there, so we probably can peg some weapons and accessories for him to hold, which I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. He does have a few sculpted abs there, muscular definition there too as well, looking pretty good. And as we move on to the bottom half of the figure, we can see his belt with the gray shark and the red eyes, some more sculpting there on the inner line work of the reds. We have some more hexagon peg holes there, which I assume we can attach certain weapons there. Maybe some additional holsters and stuff would be really nice for the figure. Like I said before, a tail would have been really great to add. A fin kind of would have been really great to include in this figure. Otherwise, you know, I had to knock off a few points, but it's fine for what it is. The shin guards and the armor pieces, we can see that they did sculpt it very well. The colors are all in unison, nice reds, more sculpting there on the interior of it. Very, very cool. Light blues came out good. And again, the legs, like I said, too human for me. Needs to be something a bit different, but it's fine for what it is. And then we can see that he does have like the webbed toes there, which is very cool. I do wish that, because you can see all these additional pegs and stuff, these holes for additional pegs, that it came with additional armor pieces or bonus attachments to it, which would have probably made this figure far superior and great for what it is. The gauntlet should have had like spikes or like these cool fins that are sticking out from the sides, and even the sides there on the calves, or maybe the ankle, some fins moving outward like that would have been really great. Some shading on the grays could have gone a long way. It's just like a solid gray. So now let's go ahead and equip this figure with some of his accessories, and we'll see the final verdict. Okay, so here we have Sealoch equipped with most of his accessories, and one of the things I will say is that the sword glides in very smoothly into his hand, which is very nice. Now, one of the things I find very interesting is that because of the pegs here, I like how you can kind of incorporate the pegs into probably the sides of the figure, or of the holster, of the gauntlets, or the waist piece. Now, because this is supposed to be the shoulder piece, I kind of just added it to the side gauntlet there, kind of giving it like a shield. This is probably incorrect, but that's really okay. I don't mind. I wanted to try something new. But him holding the sword is really awesome, and if you look at the back of the figure, he has his gun placed into the peg there as well. So again, seeing how there are some additional pegs there, I'm sure this is like a way to kind of equip the figure with much more versatility, but I'm not really sure at the moment where to place a lot of these components. But for the time being, just the overall aesthetic of it is pretty awesome. Now, color scheme wise, the blues obviously giving it like a shark underwater feel is just awesome. The Sealoch fits the name for it. Now in the future, I would love to see a shark with the green armor. It would just be the perfect, fantastic end to the figure itself. Weight of the figure does make up for it. It does not feel cheap. It doesn't feel like you've got ripped off. It feels really well worth the money. Now, of course, there can be some additional things to fix on this figure. And overall, I think this is a fantastic start to the combat creatures, and I'm really excited to see where they're going to go from here. And I forgot to mention there is articulation by the ankles, which is very nice. Otherwise, despite all the nitpicks and some criticism I have for the figure, it's very solid and it's a great start to the combat creatures line. And yeah, I can't wait to get the other figures down the line in the future, but for now, this one is really awesome and I'm happy that I was able to get it. So that is Sealoch from Combat Creatures. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys all for watching, and be sure to give a like and subscribe for more reviews, and let me know if you guys actually, those who actually, supported the Kickstarter, if you like this figure, and should I invest in the other three, because I know there's so many other figures that were part of the initial tiers to unlock, and I know there's going to be like an eagle and a serpent and some other cool animals down the line, which I'm also excited for. So it's one of those things where I do want to see how far the line will go and how many other animals they will make, but otherwise I'm very excited to actually have a shark figure in my collection, which is really awesome. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to give a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode.